What's up, YouTube? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and this is my review of the Eachine CG022 with headless mode. So this micro quad, I feel like I really took this thing off face value. You know, I saw some reviewers give this thing the thumbs up pretty much and say that this was a nice flying quad, and I'm really disappointed with it. I think that this quad is missing some key features. Well, in performance, actually, this thing, let's get right to it. I don't really like the way this thing flies because it doesn't bank well. The auto leveling is way too aggressive. It flies really stable. Well, actually, it used to fly really stable, and that's another thing. I think there's something wrong with the programming with it. For instance, when you're flying on high rates, first of all, the highest rate that you can fly comfortably in without auto flipping is 60% rates, but it gets moving pretty fast at 60% rates. However, once you try to yaw while flying fast forward flight, the auto leveling kicks in and straightens the quad up, so it's really hard. You can't do funnels with this quad. You can't do nice bank turns when you're flying fast forward flight because the auto leveling kicks in and alters it and messes up your turn. And this thing, it's really jerky when you're trying to turn, and that's the reason why, because the auto leveling kicks in once you hit yaw, and so it stops you from bank turning. So all you can do really with this thing is sliding turns, which can get really sloppy, especially when you're trying to avoid hitting something. You can't fly it really fast. You can't fly it fast at all indoors. Because of that, you know, you can't really bank your turns to avoid objects. It's just sliding turns all day long. So you can fly nice circuits with it if you're flying slow, but as soon as you pick up a little too much speed, then it becomes hard to avoid obstacles because you can only do sliding turns with it. This thing flips really well, though. I can say that about this quad, but I think that really has something to do with the aggressive auto leveling, because this thing, when it flips, it actually holds it. It looks so straight when it flips. It flips really nice and clean. The flips are clean, and when I first got this thing, the flips were really clean, but now it's really fidgety and shaky when it's flying. Even in hover, it's shaking back and forth. I've tried other props with this quad, don't work well with it. Something with the accelerometers. I think it causes the quad to shake back and forth violently with any other props other than the props that are stock with it. So, and another thing, the props are actually really fragile. The props break really easy on this thing, and so I ended up just buying like 3 sets of props for this thing because the props were breaking so easy. I mean, in one crash, I kind of got hung up on a telephone wire, and so oh yeah, this thing doesn't do correction of spins either very well. In other words, when I hit the telephone wire, it made the quad spin. It spun it around a little bit, not even hard. It spun it around a little bit, and the accelerometer and gyro in this thing trying to correct it just caused it to spin up really fast. This thing was spinning like a fan so fast, and it just spun down and it crashed. It fell out of the sky, spinning around. And when it hit the ground, both of my front props were broken. So really fragile props on this thing. Other than that, it flies well when you're not trying to do any turns. When you're just flying back and forth and side to side and upwards flight, this thing really takes off. It's a really strong flyer in that sense. It has an LVC warning. This flashlight in the front is actually the LVC warning. The lights on this thing are really pretty. They light up really bright and it's really colorful. It has like this thing has like 3 different colors that light up on it. Let me get a battery so I can plug it in and show you guys the lights. Okay, so you have red lights in the front and eyes, and then you have this blue here shining through the body in the front and the arms, and then you have green in the back. So a really colorful quad, and then also you have this flashlight here which acts as an LVC warning and also lets you know when you bind the quad to the transmitter. But other than that, this light here stays off. It has nice rubber landing feet, so the landings are pretty nice with it. What else is there? Oh yeah, this battery bay was quite fragile. I was putting a battery in there and it just cracked on me. So and it's really not a lot of space in there. The stock battery is really small. Let me get this stock battery. This is the stock battery. Let's see, it's 300 milliamp hours. But the stock battery is pretty much the only battery that you'll be able to get in here to fit nicely. And it's because it's really slender and it fits in there well. The battery bay isn't really big, and so that ended up breaking on me. I was putting another LiPo that I have in there, and oh, this is the transmitter. My kid, I think my kid knocked the transmitter over and knocked the antenna off. But the antenna, it wasn't real anyhow. It was the actual antenna doesn't extend up through there. So yeah, the transmitter is pretty nice. It should be really nice for pinchers, but I use thumbs and it's not too bad with that either. It has all your adjustable, you can trim it here. It has all the trims here. This is left and right trim, the front and back trim, and then you have your rates here on the buttons, the 60% rate and 20% rate here, and then you have 100% rates, but that will cause you to do auto flips whenever you get full input on the right stick, and that's something I'm not a fan of. But it also has an auto flip button, so when you're flying you can just hit this button and it'll cycle through different flips. First it'll do a front flip, and then it'll do a side flip, and you know it'll just cycle through all the flips. And oh yeah, this thing takes AAA batteries, takes 6 AAA batteries, and the range is really good on this. That's one good thing about it. The range is really good. So that's all there really is to say about it. I really think this is, oh yeah, the headless mode. The headless mode works pretty well. Sometimes it's not really that accurate for long, so you can use it for a little while and it'll be accurate, but then it starts to lose orientation a little. In other words, it won't stay perfectly the way you set it. Go into headless mode. Like if you go into headless mode, first of all, headless mode is, in case you don't know what headless mode is, once you put this quad in headless mode, it allows you to control a quad. It's really for beginners, I think. So it allows you to control a quad, and it doesn't matter which direction the front is facing. So in other words, your front can be facing to your left and you're in headless mode, but your inputs will still be relative to where you started in headless mode. So if you was to pull back, it will still fly back to you. If you push left, it'll still fly left and right and forward and so on, and it doesn't matter which direction the quad is facing. You can actually do pirouettes and still be able to successfully control the quad pretty easily. But the trick here is that you have to be facing, you have to have the quad facing away from you in order for headless mode to be working right. Because whichever direction the front of the quad is facing, that's going to be your front into headless mode. So you want to activate headless mode either before you take off, you face the quad away from you and go into headless mode. You hold down this auto flip button for a while, for about 3 seconds, and then it'll go into headless mode, and it'll constantly beep to let you know you're in headless mode. And yeah, you have to face the quad away from you when you go into headless mode. So I would recommend going into headless mode before you take off, or you have to make sure you're flying forward, or your quad is facing away from you if you're flying, and then you can go in headless mode, and you'll be able to control it. So that's all there really is to say about it. So, oh yeah, the instruction manual, it's in pretty good English, so, and it's pretty lengthy, so you know, it explains everything that you need to know about the quad. So that's all there is to say about it. So let's check it out in flight. Okay, this is the indoor flight footage of the CG022 by Eachine. I already have it bound to the transmitter, so let's see how it flies. So it's really stable, fairly stable. When I got it, it was a little more stable than it is now. These are brand new props, so it must be something to do with the programming. So we're on 20% rates now. This is the yaw rate on 20%. So pretty decent yaw rate. Here's 60% rates. It's a little twitchy on 60% rates. You can see the auto leveling is really quick. This is the yaw rate. The yaw rate stays the same on 60% rates. 100% rates is the auto flipping mode. Not a big fan of that. But it also has one button flips. So let's check out the one button flip. So initially when I first got this thing, it used to flip really well. Now it's really sometimey with the flips. So I don't know what happened with the programming, but it really doesn't flip as well as it used to. And these are brand new props that I ordered from Banggood for the Eachine CG022. So it's really no reason that it should be flying different than it was before. So, but fairly, it's a pretty decent flying quad. But my problem is the auto leveling is way too aggressive for me. You can barely do, you can't do any funnels or anything like that. You can barely fly circuits with it. You can see that's the best it can bank. So let's try some more flips, see how it's flipping. Yeah, see this thing, well actually it might be because of the battery dying. It has a LVC warning and that's it there. So maybe I'll come back and check it and we'll see how it flies with a fresh battery.